Tuesday night, October 3rd. It's about 9:10. It's a couple hours after sky dark. Sky dark probably happened around 7:15 this evening. I've had to delay because I'm going to be going through the NGC7350 series, which is not well placed until about this time. What you're looking at here, of course, for those who have been following the series, is a spectacular near edge on, slightly oblately presented galaxy, NGC 7331. It's one of the less than 100 or so sub-magnitude 10 galaxies that you can find in the night sky. And although there's quite a bit of atmospheric water up there, I was able to vaguely make out the Milky Way straight overhead as it stretches from Cassiopeia through Cygnus and on down to the horizon. So I'm thinking, given this view of 7331, now of course we're operating at the standard parameters of 128 flood and 42 decibels of auto gain control that I've been employing throughout the NGC series. So there's our first look. All I'm concerned with now is whether or not we're going to have high thin clouds come in and mask some of our studies, but I think we should be able to pull off NGC 7350 through NGC 7399, with exceptions of things that can't be seen from the observatory or are too far south. So let's get started. NGC 7350 was a star. NGC 7351 is what's now presumably on the screen. Boy, I can see it next to a star. It's a fairly faint galaxy. It's magnitude 13. It's a galaxy in Aquarius. A mere 39 million light years distant, spiral of the lenticular class O, 1.7 by 1.3 arc minutes, magnitude 13, about 4.5 degrees south of the celestial equator. I'm not sure if I can make it out here, but this could very well be the core with some extensions in the 13th magnitude galaxy. Given its size, 1.7 by 1.3, it's probably kind of a sub-football shaped galaxy. So let's go ahead and have a look at the next study. NGC 7352 was a 12th magnitude open cluster in Cepheus, too far north. Here we should be seeing formulate on the screen NGC 7353, a galaxy in Pegasus, faintish, magnitude 15 and smallish, 0.6 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with some peculiarities, fairly distant, excuse me, 328 million light years. So basically it's smaller than our own Milky Way galaxy, I would assume, probably somewhere around 75,000 light years. It's at almost 12 degrees. Now in this 7350 series, we're starting out at about 22 hours 42 minutes in terms of right ascension. I'm hoping I'll be able to pick the galaxy out, this 15th magnitude galaxy, out on the screen mañana. Once again, I had to skip over a couple, either too far north or too far south. This should be NGC 7356, a galaxy in Pegasus, a little brighter than the last 15th magnitude. This is a magnitude 14.1 and larger, 1.1 by 0.5 arc minute oblately presented galaxy. Spiral of a lowercase b, c, 325 million light years distant. So this one's about the size of our own Milky Way galaxy, and actual size of about 100,000 light years across. It's at almost 31 degrees in terms of declination. I'm thinking it's somewhere up on the screen. We will have to confirm that tomorrow. Well, obviously there's a very bright star in the screen. It almost looks like it must be of the second magnitude or so. NGC 7357 is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 14, 1.5 by 0.7, so oblately presented spiral, lowercase b, 326 million light years distant. This one's up in size, pretty close to that of the Great Andromeda Galaxy at about 150,000 light years. It's at plus 30 degrees. Can't tell you what star that is. but I suspect it's probably one of the 4 stars in the Great Square of Pegasus, or possibly one of the brighter stars in its flying leg to one of its legs. NGC7350-7399 is one of our first deep south galaxies. However, it's in that tall Aquarius, the water carrier. Minus 20, almost 24 degrees in declination. Its magnitude 12.5, largest 2.4 by 0.6, so a little bit more tilted than an edge-on, but not too much. It's a lenticular spiral class O, 149 million light years distant. It's probably about the size of our own Milky Way. It's at minus almost 24 degrees in declination. I'm hoping it pops up somewhere on the screen. I'm thinking there's something right about there, but we'll have to check things out tomorrow. But magnitude 12 point, I would expect it to be brighter than that. Kind of wish I hadn't pushed the off button so quickly. There was something rather unique flying through the field of view in that last study, which I think was 7359. Had a squirrely motion to it. It's not a motion I normally see in either satellites or in meteor. So anyway, I'll have to look at it tomorrow. This is NGC 7360, Galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.6, 0.7 by 0.4, so an oblately presented spiral of class S, 212 million light years distant. So this baby's pretty small, probably around 50 to 60,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 4 degrees in declination, so it's not in too bad a sky position. Not too bad a field for some minus 30 degrees south declination. NGC 7361 is a 12.3 magnitude galaxy in Pisces Austrinus. It's 3.9 by 1 arcminute, so quite large. A mere 59 million light years away, so it's probably in the 40,000 light year size across its major axis. Spiral of a lowercase c. It's at minus 30 degrees. NGC 7361, and it should be somewhere on the screen. Given its magnitude is 12.3, we're probably losing about 3 magnitudes, so it should appear about the 15th magnitude. NGC 7362 is another galaxy in Pegasus. Brightish, magnitude 12.7, 1.1 by 0.8 arcminutes. It's an elliptical, so basically a football-shaped galaxy that looks kind of like a globular cluster. 341 million light years distant, pretty much puts it at maybe about 110,000 light years in diameter on its major axis. It's at plus 8, almost 9 degrees in terms of its position in the sky and its declination. Oh, I wanted to say something briefly about galaxies. What I discovered recently, and I posted this up in my last discussion, is every magnitude fainter, galaxy numbers increase by about a factor of 3. So 10th magnitude galaxies is about 108 10th to 9th magnitude galaxies. So 11th would be about 300. 12th magnitude galaxies would be probably about 900 to 1,000 such galaxies in the sky. And when I went through and played with the size of the field of view on this screen, and it's reached about magnitude 16.5 at these settings, I realized that in every screen we look at, unless it's blocked by something in the foreground of space, we should see 2 galaxies on average. So there may just be another galaxy somewhere up on that screen that we are not directly looking for. This one was NGC 7362. NGC 7363 is a galaxy in Pegasus, but way north. It's probably pretty much right almost overhead. Its magnitude is 13.8. It's 0.9 by 0.9 arcminutes in size. So it's pretty much a face-on spiral with a bar and a lowercase cd. Some 298 million light years distant, which makes it about the size or slightly smaller than our own Milky Way. It's at almost 34 degrees in terms of positive northern declination. That one should be giving us a pretty good look. NGC7354 is another galaxy. This one's an Aquarius, right, very close to the celestial equator. Magnitude 12.6, 1.8 by 1.1, so somewhat of a squashed football. Spiral with a lowercase a, 222 million light years distant. This one's probably about 125,000 light years across. And as I said, it's at pretty much spot on the celestial equator. So it should give a pretty decent view wherever it may be on the screen. I sure hope there's galaxies forming on the screen. I'm not seeing too many of them, although I'm seeing something faint right about there, but it has to correspond to the information, and it doesn't. NGC7365 is a galaxy in Aquarius, but it's minus 20 degrees, so let's be understood that that's pretty going to knock a couple of magnitudes off this baby. It's a magnitude 12.9 galaxy, 1.5 by 1 arc-minute, spiral of the lenticular class O, 137 million light years distant, probably somewhere around 60 to 70,000 light years in diameter. It's at minus 20 degrees, and we're still not anywhere near a right ascension 23 hours. We're actually 15 minutes shy of it. So I'm hoping that I can track this thing down tomorrow. We will see. Oh, I thought I'd show you this rather slow-moving celestial object moving across the screen there. You watch it while I tell you this data. NGC 7366 is a galaxy in Pegasus. Faint, magnitude 15.5, small, 0.3 by 0.3 arc minutes, which means it's probably somewhere around 20 arc seconds in size. It's just a spiral. It's at plus 10, almost 11 degrees. As I said, magnitude 15.5, and we've just seen whatever it was crawling across the screen disappear. We'll have to check this one out again tomorrow to see what developed on the screen over time. NGC 7367 is another galaxy in Pegasus. Brightish, magnitude 13.8, 1.6 by 0.4 arc minutes. Spiral of lowercase ab, 323 million light years distant. So this is a Messier 31 size galaxy. It's about 3.5 degrees above the celestial equator, so not poorly positioned in the sky, but maybe we've lost 0.5 to 0.8 magnitudes in reach. NGC 7369 is another one of those Pegasus galaxies approaching overhead. Magnitude 13.6, slightly smaller than 1 by 1 arc minute, 0.9 by 0.9. Spiral of lowercase c with a ring, which means it's rapidly rotating, 300 million light years distant, probably about the size of our own Milky Way at 100,000 light years, plus 34 degrees. I'm kind of hoping I can see it on the screen, that I could synchronize the scope, but I'm not quite making it out conclusively. NGC 7370, it would be a challenge for these settings, even on a good night. It's a magnitude 16.4 galaxy, small, 0.5 by 0.2 arc minute spiral. It's at plus 11 degrees, so we're not losing much in the way of sensitivity. This one would be right on the fringes. I'm not sure on a night like tonight with so much atmospheric water we'll be able to make it out. Anyway, it's at plus 11 degrees, magnitude 16.4. NGC 7371 should be a rather obvious galaxy on the screen. Magnitude 11.5, face on 1.7 by 1.7 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, 118 million light years distant. However, it is at minus 11 degrees. Looks like there's something associated right here with this star. but I'm not willing to commit to it by resynchronizing the scope on it. I'll have to check the position of other galaxies that turn up tomorrow as I pull this video together. NGC 7372, another galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 13.4, 1 by 0.5 arc minutes, so a pure oblately presented spiral with a lowercase bc. This one is distant, however, 524 million light years. That makes it larger than the Great Andromeda Galaxy. It's probably somewhere about 180,000 light years in major axis diameter. It's at plus 11 degrees. We should be able to pick this one up quite nicely, and given its oblate presentation and size, should be detectable as a galaxy. NGC 7373, another galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 13.6, 1.3 by 0.5 arc minutes, so a little sub-oblately presented, super edge on. 212 million light year spiral of the lenticular class O. It's at plus 3 degrees. And we haven't been making much progress in terms of right ascension. We're now at 2246. NGC 7374A is a galaxy in Pegasus. Almost magnitude 15, 14.9, 0.7 by 0.9 by 0.7 arc minutes, spiral of a lowercase bc, 317 million light years distant, about the size of the Milky Way, almost plus 11 degrees in declination. And where there's a A, you'd expect a B. In this case, 7374B, NGC. Galaxy in Pegasus, this one's fainter, 15.5. I sure would like to be able to make sure we can see this tonight. 0.4 by 0.2 arc minutes. I did not hear a stepper click at all. Spiral of lenticular class, 321 million light years distant. So it's probably somewhere about maybe 35,000 light years on its major axis. It's at plus almost 11 degrees in declination. NGC 7375, we're just turning the corner now. Galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 14.9, 0.8 by 0.6 arc minutes. Spiral with a ring, but given its magnitude close to 15, that ring would probably be about the 18th magnitude. 308 million light years distant, plus 21 degrees, so well positioned in the sky. NGC 7376, another galaxy in Pegasus. Magnitude 14.4, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes, about what you might expect, a spiral with a lowercase a. It's almost 3.5 degrees positive northern declination. Okay, we're heading deeper south into Aquarius, NGC 7377 galaxy. Brightish, magnitude 11.4. 4.1 by 3.4 arc minute football shaped spiral with a bar, lenticular and a lowercase a, some 147 million light years distant. So this baby is probably about 180,000 light years across, but it's at minus 22 degrees in declination. So we're not going to get much of a look here. But we should be able to make it out somewhere on the screen. NGC 7378, another galaxy in Aquarius, but this one further north. Magnitude 13, 1.5 by 0.9 arc minutes, a spiral with a lowercase ab, and a ring. Normally, we might expect to see that ring. It's 114 million light years distant, but it's at minus almost 12 degrees in declination, so it could be a bit challenging. NGC 7379 is virtually overhead. I don't think the aperture is blocked anyway, though. It's a galaxy in Lacerda, the lizard. Magnitude 13.4, 1.1 by 0.8 arc minutes. Spiral with a bar and a lowercase a, 245 million light years distant, so probably about 80,000 light years in diameter. It's at plus 40 degrees. Declination, I really want to be able to pick this baby out. but it's in a very awkward position. However, I'm seeing something right about there. NGC 7381 is a galaxy in Aquarius, magnitude 14.2, 0.7 by 0.5, spiral, lowercase c, and a ring 200 million light years distant. Dwarfish galaxy, probably about 50,000, maybe 70,000 light years in diameter. It's at minus 19, almost 20 degrees in declination. Okay, we may have a bit of a problem. This is Enif, and I was trying to center on it, so all of our galaxies would, at least in the middle third of the sky, would be down in this region here, which is why we weren't seeing them. So I'm going to resynchronize to Enif, and then we're going to see what we get later on. But it doesn't hold out much hope for the future in terms of actually centering on those galaxies. Okay, this is Enif's new position, and anything in the middle third of the sky should end up right about there. Okay, I'm just rechecking NGC 7381. It's at 14.2 magnitude galaxy in Aquarius, 0.7 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with a ring, lowercase c, 200 million light years distant, minus 19 degrees. I think it's on the screen now, but if it's in the area where Enif was, but I think it may have drifted. Anyway, I'm also seeing something faint there, but it's much larger than I expect. Let's push on. We may have to call it a botch on the earlier studies if they do not turn up on the screen. We're at 7381 now after resynchronizing to Enif. NGC 7383 is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.7, 0.8 by 0.7 arc minutes. Spiral with a bar. It's also a lenticular class O, 362 million light years distant and plus 11.5 degrees. The battery is starting to get low. I'm down to 2 bars. It's colder out, and the batteries don't last quite as long. NGC 7384 was but a click away from 83. Galaxy in Pegasus, faint, magnitude 15.5, small, 0.5 by 0.3 arc minutes, some 327 million light years distant, so about half the size of the Milky Way, at plus 11.5 degrees. NGC 7385 was only a couple of stepper clicks away. I'm seeing something right there on the screen. Magnitude 12, 1.3 by 1.1 arc minutes. It's an elliptical, 353 million light years distant, so probably about 125,000 light years across, at 11.5 degrees positive declination. And NGC 7386 was only a couple clicks away. It's pretty obvious right there on the screen. It's a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12.3, 1.8 by 1.5 arc minutes. Larger than Messier 31, it's 325 million light years distant. It's a spiral of class O, which means it's probably pretty dense with stars, and it's plus 11 and almost 12 degrees in declination. Well, we're definitely in a galaxy-rich area of sky. NGC 7387, which I've got to get you the data on, was also neighborly. So it should be in about the same position. I can see there are several galaxies up there on the screen from my vantage. NGC 7387, another galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 14.7 by 0.4, so oblately presented spiral, class O. 313 million light years distant, so probably somewhere around 75,000 light years in diameter. Again, plus 11.5 degrees declination. Once again, just a click or two, same field of view perhaps. NGC 7388. This is a 17th magnitude galaxy, 0.2 by 0.2 arc minutes. So about 15 arc seconds inside. It's an elliptical. That's not giving any distance on it. And so they usually would determine that based on the red shift, but they haven't done it for this particular galaxy. It is quite at the limits. I do not expect to see anything more but a faint star-like core at best. NGC 7389 is in the same region of the sky, but maybe not in the same field. It's a galaxy in Pegasus. Brighter, magnitude 13.8, 1.1 by 0.9 arc minutes. Football-shaped spiral with some peculiarities. 354 million light years, so just about the size of our own galaxy, plus 11.5 degrees in declination. Again, just a few clicks away. This is NGC 7390, galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 14.1, 1 by 0.7 arc minutes, spiral of the lenticular class again, 347 million light years distant, about the size of our own Milky Way, at 11.5 degrees in declination. Okay, we've dropped down into Aquarius with NGC 7391. Galaxy, magnitude 12, 1.7 by 1.5. It's an elliptical galaxy, a mere 137 million light years distant, which puts it at about 75 to 80,000 light years in diameter. It's at minus 1.5 degrees, and we've only progressed 5 arc minutes in right ascension, or 5 minutes in right ascension over this entire excursion. NGC 7392 has gone a bit deeper south, but it's a great view if that's the galaxy we're thinking of, and it may have a neighbor. NGC 7392, galaxy in Aquarius, magnitude 11.9, 2.2 by 1.4 arc minutes. Thank you. We get a good view of that. Spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, 142 million light years distant, so it's probably about the size of our own Milky Way, perhaps smaller, but minus 20.5 degrees in declination. It is presenting nicely, however. Still hanging there with 2 bars on the camera battery. NGC 7393, galaxy in Aquarius. 14th magnitude, but large, 2 by 0.9 arc minutes. Should be interesting to track down. Spiral with a large bar and lowercase c with some peculiarities. 170 million light years distant, puts it about the size of our own Milky Way. It is minus 5.5 degrees in declination. Okay, good time of night for this one. Almost straight up on the zenith. NGC 7395 is a galaxy in Lacerta. Let me get some data on it. NGC 7395, the drum roll please. The galaxy in Lacerta, magnitude 13.8, 1.2 by 1.1, nearly face-on galaxy, lenticular type spiral O, 258 million light years distant, about the size of our own Milky Way, plus 37 degrees. I'm glad I got started when I did, because otherwise we'd be blocking some aperture on the scope at this point. Our first galaxy in Pisces that I'm aware of, not Pisces Austrinus, I guess it would be Borealis. NGC 7396, galaxy in Pisces, brightish, magnitude 12.9, 1.9 by 1.1 arc minutes, super oblate, spiral with a lowercase a, 224 million light years distant, puts it at about 125,000 light years across. It's at plus 1 degrees in declination. I only got 1 bar left. Okay, only a couple of stepper clips away. I have to give you the data on this NGC 7397. You look at it while I call it up. So we would expect this galaxy, NGC 7397, to also be in Pisces. Galaxy, magnitude 14.1, 0.7 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lenticular, and a lowercase a, 215 million light years distant, puts it at about 60 to 70,000 light years across. It's at 1 degree north declination. Another short hop, and we are to NGC 7398. Once again, I'll have to call up the data. With one bar left on the camera, we are in a race. We've got at least one more study after this. I had hoped to have enough power left to go back and revisit some of the lost galaxies, but we may have to do that tomorrow. NGC7350 is a galaxy in Pisces, 13.6 magnitude, 1.2 by 0.8. Super oblate galaxy, football shape, 213 million light years distant, little more than 1 degree northern declination. Okay, last study of the evening. Maybe not the Carpe Noctem, maybe it is because of the battery. NGC7399 is a galaxy in Aquarius, magnitude 14.9 by 0.4 arc minutes, spiral of 8, lowercase a, 201 million light years distant, minus 10 degrees, and we've only progressed about 7 minutes in right ascension throughout this 7350-99 series. So with scarcely a bar left on the camera, I'm hoping we will get a look at Messier 33, the Triangulum galaxy. Can't be sure. I'm going to have to signal a Carpe Noctem on this one, but I am going to let it settle on it for just a little bit and hope that the galaxy forms on the screen before the camera battery chills out for tonight. Oops, I'm now getting a warning. That is it, Carpe.